In today's class, we'll be focusing on the breath. We'll be moving nice and slow so that you can really feel the quality of your movement. And we'll be massaging all of our joints. So thanks for being here. And with that, we'll begin with some breathing on our comfy pillow, our ramp that we've set up. So if you're not yet on your comfy ramp, take a moment to support yourself and make sure your head is supported. And then just start to come to stillness. Can allow the knees to knock in towards one another if that feels inviting. And allow the rest of your day to start to fall away. As you observe the breath, everything else can just get a little quieter, a little softer. And notice the quality of your breath. Sometimes by just bringing your awareness, it becomes smoother, a little longer. And try to resist the temptation of changing it or forcing a deep breath. And instead, allow it to be natural and free. And notice how your mind can relax when the breath is totally free. Without any force or too much effort, play with slowing down your exhale just a little bit so you can really be with it. Often we naturally exaggerate the inhale and the exhale gets forgotten. And so just start to notice the qualities of the exhale, the body softening, the mind relaxing. Maybe it even feels like you're just melting into your pillows and blankets as you exhale. If at any time the slow exhale doesn't feel comfortable, just let that go and breathe naturally. If it's continuing to feel nourishing and supporting, also notice the space after the exhale. And let yourself rest there until the body naturally receives the inhalation. Sometimes we rush the inhale, we take the inhale. As you slow your exhale and notice the pause, just allow yourself to be in that stillness and spaciousness until the inhale naturally arrives. And staying in this breath-focused space, start to just gently graze the fingers in a circle around you. So there's not too much effort in the arms and shoulders. You don't have to stretch. It doesn't have to be intense. But just try to continue observing the breath as you start to have sensory input. It's almost like you're drawing a snow angel, but about halfway through you might feel a lot in the chest and you can just pause and go back the other way. Or if it feels good, you can allow the hands to come a little higher. And just try to observe the breath while observing the body gently moving. The next time the arms come to about a T, just pause there, turn the palms face up and let the chest melt open. And then extend one foot at a time, nice and wide, into a straddle with no strain in the inner thighs. Bring your awareness to your right foot and just start to draw some big circles with the toes. So it takes your foot through a point and a flex, and keep the heel down so that as you circle the toes, the heel massages on the ground. And it might feel like you're pointing the foot and then slowly flexing it to the right, through center, to the left, and then back to the point. And try to slow down your movement by 50%. And start to notice as the foot rotates and the heel spins, how the rest of the leg naturally follows. It's okay to bend the knee as the toes point out to the right if that feels more comfortable. In fact, let's all try that. The next time the toes turn out to the right and start to flex, let the knee just naturally bend, go through center, and then as the toes start to point, allow the leg to extend. So there's this sense of everything being connected, starting at the foot but rising up through the ankle, to the knee, the inside and outside of the thigh. Notice the sensation in the hip socket as the thigh bone just gently rotates and the hip go the opposite direction. And then allow the right toes to float to a neutral position so the right leg can rest. And let's do the same thing on the second side, starting with just the foot. So don't worry about the knee yet. Allow the left foot to fall off to the left. Start to point the toes through center and then flex the foot as it goes all the way up and over to the left. And sometimes we have a tendency to want to make the biggest circle possible. Try to let that urge go and instead notice how much the ankle wants to rotate. Notice what feels nourishing. Imagine you just paid $100 for this massage. Better feel good, right? So let each moment of this class feel like that, where you're nourishing yourself to that degree. The next time the foot flexes and turns out to the left, let the knee bend just a little bit. And just try to start to notice that relationship as the foot flexes, how the knee almost wants to bend as those muscles engage, and just allow that to happen. And then start to notice any sensations in the hip socket. Just like a really subtle massage, perhaps, as the femur gently externally rotates. And let's actually flip the direction. So same idea, just going the opposite way, and less is more. The more natural and fluid this feels, the more the nervous system will relax, the more your fascia will start to slide and glide and allow movement to be more delightful, more supportive. Take one more circle with the left foot, and then do a little test for your brain by doing both legs at the same time. It's okay if it's hard. And then go the opposite direction. And then ever so gently let your body rest in stillness and observe the breath once more. Start to hug the knees into the chest. Place the hands on the knees. Draw a couple of circles with the knees, and just like the process of circling the foot, notice how when the knees circle, the low back subtly rotates. Notice any rotation in the spine. Really small. You have to be more focused to feel at this level. Go the opposite direction. If you ever can't feel or notice, try moving a little slower. And then float the knees to center. Grab behind the legs and gently stretch the feet up towards the ceiling and start to kick the legs into the hands. And as you kick the legs, just notice engagement in the legs, maybe even a little engagement naturally firing in the core. Bend the knees and kick, and just do this a couple times. Feeling that sensation of the muscles enlivening and then softening. And notice any tendency you might have to want to kick really hard or stretch as much as possible. And see if you can soften that and sink into the sensation of just massaging through the hamstrings. Can allow the hands to start to gently walk down the hamstring, so each time you kick, there's a different part that the hands massage. If you find a place that really needs the love, you can keep the hands there. And just allow the legs to softly extend, so there's still a little bend in the knees, and just squeeze down the hamstrings a few times, just giving those big strong muscles a little bit of love. And try to feel the hands as they squeeze, and try to feel the muscles as they are squeezed. Just try to be really present with those sensations in the body. The next time the hands make it up to the knees, start to kick the feet forward, slowly rolling up. And just pause for a moment and notice sensations in the head. Come back to the breath, that gentle observation. And then gently shift the weight back so that the feet hover, and kick the legs into the hands to energize the core. See if you can sit up a little straighter without any strain. And then start to extend one leg at a time. And then as the legs extend, allow the feet to draw patterns and move a little more spontaneously. See if you can stretch a leg out to the side a little bit. It'll engage the muscles in the hips and legs. And while still being gentle and kind, challenge yourself a little bit. Lean to one side. It's okay if you fall. You're not that far from the ground, right? And just start to explore the sides of the core, the back of the core. You can always go hands free and explore the shoulders as well. And then pause for a moment, cross the ankles, and just sit at neutral. Just absorbing all those waking movements, absorbing any sense of inner awareness. Observe the breath. And then moving as consciously as possible, start to place your props out of the way. But try to actually feel as you move the blanket, as you stack the pillows. Try to observe the breath. Notice any muscles firing. And if you're following along with music in the playlist today, feel free to hit play if you haven't already, and just make sure the track is on repeat, and I'll tell you when to go to the next track. And then we'll all meet on our bellies with our hands stacked and our elbows wide, forehead to hands. And now just become aware of the back of the body. And reach the hands in front of you and slowly start to drag the hands back until they're in line with the low ribs, and just notice anything waking up in the shoulders. Gently press into the hands to shift the hips back to the heels, melt the forehead. And push down into the shins to slowly float up into tabletop. And close the eyes and bring all your awareness to your wrists and your shoulders. And start to walk the hands out, playing with bringing them a little closer together, a little further apart, and just noticing where the hands feel the most supportive, and not assuming it's the place you always put them. Actually try to feel what engages to support you. Bend the elbows a little bit so nothing locks out. And when you find a place that feels pretty supportive, start to play with the angle of the fingertips. And so Allow the fingers to slowly turn out. Just noticing how that changes the activity of the hands, the wrists, the forearms, the shoulders. Turn the hands in a little bit. Let the hands be really soft. Sometimes we try to force them into like a big handprint, like we're on Hollywood Avenue, or I don't know if that's, you know what I'm talking about. We're not making imprints in the cement. So just let the hands be really natural, really soft and supple. And then when you find an angle where you don't feel any strain in the wrists or the forearms and it's really natural, just pause there for a moment. Bring a little extra weight on the outside of the hands so that the knuckles of the index finger, middle finger, and ring finger can lift a little bit. We're just favoring the base of the thumb, the base of the pinky. Everything else just gently hovers away. And slowly start to press the hips back, keeping the hands where they are. So the hips might not make it all the way to the heels. Draw a circle to the left, slowly floating back up to table, and then let that circle continue off to the right. Just make a few circles like this, noticing how the circling of the hips shifts where the weight is in the legs of your table. So you might feel more in one leg and then the other, and then one arm and then the other, and let all the joints be supple. Go the opposite direction. And really try to be present with your breath without changing it. And try to be present with the sensations in your body as you are continually changing. There's something new to always feel. And then keep your hands where they are. You worked really hard to find these hands, right? So keep them where they are, but slowly press the hips back to the heels. And with the hands planted, notice if there's any sense of the low body hollowing out as you really have to reach the hips back to get to the heels without moving the arms. Then push down into the shins, slowly rising up, rounding the spine for cat pose and letting the whole shoulders shift over the wrists. And then go back the way you came. So hips back to heels, almost like a little tug of war, where first the knees push, sending the spine forward, and then the hands push, sending the spine back. And for now, let's just keep our spine arched and just start to allow the front side of the body to hollow up towards the spine. Imagine the front of the body supporting the front of the spine, the back of the body supporting the back of the spine. And the next time you come forward, ever so gently pause in your cat pose, and then just start to drag the hands back to allow the heart to reach forward a little bit without overarching. So really gentle cow pose. Keep the back soft and just let the arms pull the heart through. Let the belly naturally drop with no tension in the low back. And then push the hands back to Bhaktasana and repeat that. So press down through the shins to round forward, and then when you get to the top, pull on the mat, allowing the heart to reach forward, allowing the belly to drop to a gentle cow with no tension. And just take a couple more on your own and see if you can allow the breath to be natural and not worry about syncing it up in that like inhale, do this, exhale, do this. Instead, just breathe. and just move and notice what that's like. The next time the hips come back, slowly push down into the shins as if you were going to come to cat, but this time it's going to be so satisfying. Allow the hands to start to slide back. They're finally free. And allow that rounding to take you up to kneeling. And then at the last moment, just like cow pose, the spine arches. And notice how the hands can just naturally float up as an extension of that. Without replacing the hands to the mat, bow forward, rounding. Hover the body and the hands, and then push down into the shins. Let the hands sweep back. Let the front of the body slowly unfurl, and just imagine the arms like a sunrise, just naturally floating up. And take a few more of these slow motion churns, really trying to feel your body as a single entity. Instead of singular muscles, just feel your whole body participating to bow and to expand. And the next time you float up, pause here. Allow the arms to soften nice and wide so there's no tension in the shoulders. And just imagine your heart opening as big as your arms are right now. And then release the hands back down. Step the left foot off to the side. I'm going to turn a little bit so you can see this. The left foot is in line with the knee. And just start to glide the hips from side to side. And as the hips glide, give yourself permission to walk the left foot a little further. And Leanne, try walking the foot closer to you and bend the knee a little bit more. And just notice if how that goes for your hips. Yeah. And then let's try the same movement that we just did. So allow the hips to rest at center. Push down into the legs, slowly allowing your rounded spine to float up, eventually arching and letting the arms follow. And then bow forward with control. The hands never touch, so the core has to stay on. And then push down into the legs, letting the spine stack, letting the arms float back and up. And if you ever notice discomfort in the left hip, try adjusting where that foot is. The more the pelvis feels supported, the more you'll be able to find fluidity without any discomfort. And the next time you bow, start to kick into the left leg and let it step off to the left a little bit more so you can extend it. I'll turn. And give your heel a little massage. And just like we started when we were still on the back, allow the foot to circle a little bit, not too much. You don't want any strain in the knee or the hip, but just be aware of the heel softening, the whole posterior chain of the leg, all the way into the sit bone. And then bring the left leg underneath the body and let's switch sides. So step the right foot off to the side, right foot in line with the left knee, and keep the right knee nice and bent. Right? So the foot's going to be closer to you than you're used to in Parigasana. And then, we didn't do this on the first side, but it feels really nice. So you can draw some circles with the hips. And as you do that, give yourself permission to change the angle of the foot. You want to find a place where it's almost like you don't have a knee and you don't have a hip, because it's so comfortable that there's no feedback from those joints. They're just melted and happy. And then from supported hips at center, push down into the legs. Notice how the spine is rounded. And as you push down, slowly send the hips forward and Allow one vertebra at a time to stack. Allow the hands to sweep behind you, and the heart opens at the very end. The hands can be an extension of that. And then slowly melt forward, rounding the spine. The hip can send back to the heel a little bit, and then push down to slowly stack and rise. And just take a few of these really sweet sunrise movements, allowing everything to soften and melt, and then letting everything energize, but in a really sweet and nourishing way. And the next time you bow, plant the hands, extend the right leg. It's okay to let the right heel slide over to the right, and then just circle over the heel. And as you do that, start to notice the back of the right leg, the connections into the heel, so the calf, the hamstring, all the way up to the sit bone, and go the opposite direction. It's fine to allow the knee to bend at any time or not, whatever feels best. And then slide the right knee in to meet the left, and press the hips back to the heels. Walk the hands into the knees, tuck the toes underneath you, and then slowly start to put a little more weight into the balls of the feet, letting the feet stretch for a moment. Walk the hands in even more so your belly's on your thighs, and then slowly allow the heels to drip towards the floor as the hips reach high. The legs don't have to straighten. Let the spine be really soft and let the head melt down. And heel toe the feet just a little bit wider, letting the hips be as supported as possible. And with the knees bent, slowly circle the weight on the feet. As you do that, just notice what lights up on the leg. So you might feel the front of the ankle, the side of the calf, the back of the thigh. Just notice how the legs all work together to support you. And as you roll the weight around, different muscles have the opportunity to bear a bigger load. And go the opposite way. And just let the spine follow, so you're not thinking about it, but you might notice a gentle swaying. Allow the head to relax. And then slowly come to center, so you feel equal weight from right and left foot, from heel to ball of foot. Deep bend in the knees, push down into the feet. This is starting to be a theme of class. Notice how the spine is rounded. And as you push down into the feet and gently press the hips forward, notice how the spine slowly unfurls. As the heart arches up, the hands melt behind you, and then take that movement all the way up. And let's try that again. So bend the knees and melt down. And then press into the feet. Let the pelvis get buoyant. Allow the spine to stack. Allow the arms to float behind you and up. Big circle. And then melt back down. And then just move at your own pace. Trying to feel the body as one functional unit supporting you through these beautiful movements. When you've got the hang of the movement, see if you can observe your breath without changing it. The next time you come up with arms up, just pause for a moment. Soften through the shoulders. Just imagine yourself like a huge pipeline of energy, just energy pouring through the hands, through the whole body, and all the way out of the feet. And then slowly allow the arms to melt down into the body. And we'll experiment with all this awareness that you have in all of your joints and all of your body. Just go for a mindful walk to the front of your mat and take your time and move slowly. But try to feel the sensation of the feet sending signals up to the knee, up to the hip, up to the core. And just see how smoothly and how fluidly you can move and how much awareness you can bring to that movement. And then once you make it to the top, this one's going to be a little less natural. Play with walking backwards, right? So there's a little bit of a challenge to the brain. And can you be just as relaxed? Can you move just as smoothly? There's no right or wrong. Just allow your body to be supported. Allow your body to figure out these more unusual movements. And we'll all meet in Tadasana at the end of the mat. Let your feet just be wherever they naturally end up comfortable. Observe your breath. And bring your hands to your hip sockets. Shift your weight into your right foot and just take a natural step forward with the left foot. So not too big, not too small. Bend the left knee. And if it really easily comes past your ankle, then allow the step to just slide forward just a little bit. And I'm going to turn so you can see how wide my feet are apart. Allow the feet to be really wide, like you're on railroad tracks. So there's just a lot of room for the pelvis. And start to slowly bend the front knee and then slowly extend the leg. And just like all of our movements, try to feel this in the whole leg. So as the knee bends, the leg is supported from the front and the back. The leg extends, same thing. The next time the knee bends, start to circle the arms forward and up. Allow the elbows to bend so there's a lot of space. And then slowly extend the legs and allow the arms to float down. And we'll do this a few times. So knee bends, arms circle forward and up, and then leg extends and arms drop. And then see if you can smooth out those movements. And so as the knee bends and the arms reach up at the same time, the whole body opens. And as the leg extends and the arms come down, it's like everything zips up towards center. And imagine there's no beginning and no end, so you don't have to pause. The movement just continues. Don't worry, there will be an end, though. The next time the knee bends and the arms float up, pause for a moment in Virabhadrasana 1. And then slowly melt the body over the front thigh. The knee can bend as much as possible. Beautiful. Let the hands rest on the ground, so you might have to bend the knee a lot. And then just gently sway the hips from side to side. And as you sway the hips, notice how that changes the sensation on the back of the left leg. You might get more sensation on the inner thigh, and then the center, and then the outer thigh. And notice as the hips sway, if it starts to become comfortable for that leg to extend any amount, and you can allow that to happen. And then slowly release the back knee down. Bring the left knee to meet it. And we'll pause for a moment in table. And then tuck the toes under, walk the hands in towards the knees. Bring the weight into the heels, letting the hips lift, and then pause in Uttanasana, standing forward bend. Push down into the feet to slowly rise up. Let the heart lift at the end. Hands reach back and up. And this time bring hands to heart center, just anchoring everything at the center. And shift the weight into the left foot. Drop the hands to the hips and take a generous step forward with the right foot. And then let the right foot be nice and wide to the right and the left foot nice and wide to the left, so the pelvis feels really supported. And just start playing with bending the front knee. And as you bend the knee, you might get more information. You might realize your foot wants to go forward or to the right. Less is more. So if you're an overachiever, take a smaller stance. And the next time the knee bends, start to circle the arms forward and up, elbows open, big heart opener, and then extend the leg and allow the arms to melt. Bend the knee and gently circle forward and open, and then extend everything to center. And just start to flow through those circles, starting to be aware of how the legs and the upper body are connected. And notice if the two can help each other. Notice if bending the knee a little more allows you to get a deeper back bend in a supported way. You can always adjust where the feet are as the body opens. You might want a wider stance. Give yourself that permission. Our body's changing. Let's let it adapt. And the next time the knee bends and the arms float up, pause in Virabhadrasana 1. Observe the breath without forcing it to be a certain way. And then start to melt the body over the front leg. Hands come inside the foot. And then start to wag your tail from side to side. Bring your awareness to the back of the right leg and just notice how the movement of the sits bones affects the sensation in the back of the leg. And allow the back of the leg to extend any amount or not. Remember, this is your $100 massage, so make it feel really good. And then slowly bend the left knee, dropping it to the mat. Bring the right leg back to meet it. And walk the hands forward of the shoulders. So you're in a nice long table. Press into the hands to shift the hips back, and they're probably not going to make it to the heels. So just let the side bodies stretch for a moment. And then push down into the knees and the toes. Start to round forward just like we did before. Notice how it might be a little harder with this longer stance. It's more of like a puffy plank instead of a cat pose. Once the shoulders are above the wrists, gently draw back on the hands, letting the heart peek through, but think more cow and less up dog. So there's just like a natural arch. Good. And then push into the hands, send the hips back to the heels, and try it again. Allow the front of the body and the whole core cylinder to support you, but keep the back muscles nice and relaxed so there's no tension. If the hips want to go a little lower, they can. And if this is feeling really good and really comfortable and you want a little bit more, we can do this from down dog, or keep doing it just as it is. There's so many benefits already. If you'd like to try it from down dog, press the hips back, hover the knees, and push into the hands to stretch long from fingertips to hips. And then push into the balls of the feet to start to round the spine, scooping the front of the body up to meet the back of the body, puffy plank. And then drop the knees, drag the hands back to unfurl the front of the spine, really allowing the heart to pull through the fronts of the arms. And then press into the hips, and you can go back to the first version, or you can go back to down dog. And just take a couple more unfurls of the spine. And just check in with the low back and make sure all of your choices are supporting your back and never creating really any sensation there. Because sometimes you're like, oh no, it's good, it's strengthening. But really, it's irritated. So just let it be gentle. The next time you come forward in any amount, slowly lower to the belly. Stack the hands, let the elbows come wide. And just pause and observe the breath. And even though it's been a pretty mellow and sweet class, just notice how the breath may have changed at any time. The body adapting to give you the perfect balance of oxygen and carbon dioxide, and just observe that and appreciate it. And we're going to copy Dana. So bend the knees. Let the knees come a little bit wider and just gently start to circle the feet. And just notice the sense of massage through the fronts of the thighs. And maybe you can even feel the connections down into the low back. Go the opposite way. And then extend the legs back. Slide the hands underneath the shoulders and then a little further back, and slowly press the hips back to the heels, and then rise up to kneeling. One last big circle with the arms. Let the hands float up and just feel any sense of internal spaciousness. And then let the hips sink onto the heels and scoot the hips over to one side so you can extend the legs in front of you, and slowly shift the hips towards the center of the mat so that you'll have enough space to recline for Shavasana. But we'll just do a nice forward fold before we rest. So let's see. Let's bring the soles of the feet together and let the knees come wide, but give a generous distance from your heels to your groin, so there's like a big diamond. And place the hands behind you just to help support the spine, and ever so gently support the knees on their way up and support the knees on their way down. So there's a sense of control on the inner thighs. And then see if you can relax that. So even though you're controlling, there's no tension. The next time the knees come wide, extend the left leg forward and hug the right heel in just a little bit more. Plant the hands to either side of the extended leg and bend the left knee quite generously. Notice the heel. Take a circle here just to wake up that connection of the heel through the back of the leg. And then flex the foot and drag the heel back without actually moving it. And just notice when you do that if there's any sense of energy in the leg, or even being able to sit up a little taller. And then ride that support forward. And then kick into the leg so it extends. And slowly allow that to stack the spine. Jana Shirshasana. Bend the knee, dragging the heel so that you can reach forward with a lot of support. And then kick into the heel. Slowly extending leg and letting that tension help you float back up. Just take a couple more of these waving Jana Shirshasanas. Again, noticing how the body is one fluid entity. We're not just stretching one muscle at a time, but rather whole chains of connections. And the next time you release forward, if it's comfortable, you can pause there. You can also gently sway the body from side to side. You can also keep moving. You can circle the foot. Whatever just helps you release through the back of the body. And then push into the heel, slowly rising back up. Notice any sense of weightlessness or buoyancy. And then bring the soles of the feet together once again, slowly controlling your butterfly. When butterflies first emerge from the cocoon, their wings are wet, and so they flap them really slowly. So we can call this newborn butterfly pose. We're all newborn butterflies. The next time the newborn butterfly flaps its wings open, extend the right leg and pull the left heel in. And now that you know where we're going, you can go ahead at any time, but I'll still talk you through it. Bend the knee, make some circles with the heel. Allow that movement to be as fluid as possible. So it can be really small. And then from center, drag the heel back. And notice how that just helps you reach forward a little with more support. And kick into the heel, allowing the leg to extend, allowing the body to float. Bend knee and melt. Kick heel and float. And just take a few natural waves. See if you can observe the breath as you move. And the next time you release forward, you can keep moving, you can pause, can play within the pose by swaying the body or circling the foot. And try to choose an option that feels like it's really benefiting you. Even if it's just benefiting your sense of relaxation. And then gently kick into the foot to rise up with control. Extend both legs, and your final option is to recline right into Shavasana, or if you enjoyed having that nice ramp behind you, we did a lot of forward folding. So reclining in a little bit of a back bend might actually feel really balancing, but only you know the answer. And you can also do any counter poses that the body's wishing for before you rest. If you are using the prop, make sure that the head is supported and just make sure the low back feels nice and relaxed. If the prop is too high, you might feel like you're in too much of a back bend. If your music is playing, it's a good time to pause it just so you can rest more deeply in Shavasana. And option to step the feet nice and wide and knock the knees in. This can just relax the hips and the back. And just give a little tuck to the chin, making sure the back of the neck is nice and long. And before you rest completely, take a few moments just to observe the breath. And then, just like we did in the beginning, see if you can become aware of the exhale allowing the exhale to slow if you need to. Bring even more awareness to the second half of the exhale and that gentle pause. No need to hold the breath. There's just a natural pause. And then allow the inhale to greet you without forcing it to be extra deep or extra expansive. And if this is soothing, you can continue, or you can just let it go completely. Just let yourself be supported by your inner awareness. And the earth beneath you, and cosmic consciousness that's all around you and within you. If you have extra time, I recommend staying in Shavasana. It is the end of class, so if anyone needs to be aware of that, you're welcome to start making your way back to your seat.